So we're super excited that you guys took some time out of your afternoon to sit and chat with us for a little bit. To those of you that are on spring break, cheers, and make sure your hands are still clean. Uh, so we got on here today because we thought it was important to talk to you about all of the electronic resources that American Reading Company is providing to our partners. It's a lot, so it takes some time to understand it. So we thought we'd spend about 30 minutes with you this afternoon, kind of going through what that looks like. So to begin, I need to let you know that there are kind of two different audiences that we're going to be talking to. The first batch of people are teachers, students, administrators that work in buildings that have school PACE currently. And then the other half of us might not have school PACE and may not know what that even looks like. So be careful as you listen to what we have to offer today to be sure that of which part pertains to you or not. And be sure to ask us questions along the way. So to begin, the first thing that people like to know is, where do I find the books, right? We want to make sure that our students are reading. We want to make sure that they're reading on grade level, if possible, and we want to be sure that they're reading text that they can dissect on their own independently. So the first step as a teacher, you're going to log into School PACE. Now, most of you probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, if you're using Clever or ClassLink, you're going to log in through those platforms to get to School PACE. There's an app inside, you click it, and then School PACE would open up. There's only a very few small few people that wouldn't have to go through Clever or ClassLink. So again, if you're going through Clever and ClassLink, you would click the app, come to your classroom, and these are your students. So over here on the left-hand side, you're going to go to Manage ARC Bookshelf. Now, once you get to Manage ARC Bookshelf, all of your students in your class will pop up. There is no reason, if you are using Clever or ClassLink, there is no reason that you should have to set usernames and passwords up for your students. Give yourselves a round of applause for that, because that can be time-consuming. Because you use Clever or ClassLink, you are using a single sign-on platform. So once your students use your district username and password to access Clever or ClassLink, they're in essence automatically in ARC Bookshelf and ARC Adventures. So they would see two links. You would tell them to click the link that says ARC Bookshelf, and then they would be in. But we understand that that's not always the case and that snags come up. So say you have a student, Logan, the first student in this classroom, that calls and texts you and says, hey, I can't access ARC Bookshelf. And you explain it to him until you're blue in the face. And finally you say, okay, listen, Logan, I'm going to assign you a username and a password. And here is how you do that. So again, you've come in to Manage ARC Bookshelf. You've gone to Logan's name. You've copied his username, which is already automated for you. And then you're going to click this pencil right here to actually type in a password that is just for Logan. And then your directions to Logan would be to access Bookshelf through the web link instead. So as a repeat, there's two ways that you can do this. If you're Clever in ClassLink, you're going to go in through the app and access Bookshelf that way. If you have a student that just can't seem to get it, you can tell them they can access through the web, and you would have assigned them a username and a password here. So now what does it look like once I actually get into ARC Bookshelf? Well, let me show you. So remember that student that we talked about here, Logan? So Logan is going to log in through the internet, just straight up through the internet webpage, arcbookshelf.com. He's going to type in his username and password here, and it's going to give him access. Those students that are accessing through Clever and ClassLink, it'll just pop up for them. And this is what ARC Bookshelf would look like. Wow. Now, here's the best part. You get access to all, I'm going to say that part again, all of our ARC Press resources this way. So these are all of the books that you would find in our actual tangible baskets, along with some of the Foundational Skills Toolkit information and some of the EARLA Toolkit information as well. So to orient yourself around what's happening here, you've got all of the color levels here listed. You can choose English or Spanish. For this example, I'm going to choose English. It'll let you know all the titles that are available for each of the color levels here. So say I wanted my student to be reading a Black level book. Your student's going to choose Black, and they're going to look through all of these books and make a choice as to what they're going to read. The additional thing that you will notice here are our foundational skills toolkit, frameworks, and handbooks. So this is what this is a student-facing portion. Sorry, I've got to log out, looks like.
Refresh on top, Sherry. We got this.
All right.
You can sign back.
Fill in the gap while I re-log in.
Yeah, so while Sherry's doing that, you'll notice that there are 3 different parts to your menu when you get onto Bookshelf. You have the research quest lessons, you have the foundational skills toolkits, and then you have the actual color level library. So those are 3 different parts of your new menu now that you have access to Bookshelf. So what you're looking at now are the student pages, and the student pages are directly from the foundational skills toolkits. They were specifically chosen just for the student to look at. If they're accessing it at home, they would know exactly what work they're expected to work through as part of the lessons from the toolkits. Now, this is not to be confused. As Sherry closes this out, she's going to pull up the teacher foundational skills toolkit, which has both the student pages and the lesson itself. So we felt that in terms of user friendliness, that it would be really helpful for the lessons to be in one, and then for the actual student-facing to be in a separate document. Thank you, Sherry.
Awesome, thanks, Mario. So as you see, you have access to just about everything that you would have access to in the classroom. There's also down below, like I said, a way that you can switch from Spanish to English books, depending on where your reader is. Additionally, inside of Art Bookshelf, you will find what we call quests. Quests are designed for students to actually be able to do the work independently. I'll go ahead and open this up so we can take a look at it. These are PDFs that have been designed, and they can actually type into these documents and work independently. Teachers can assign these to students and say, hey, you need to turn in pages 6 and 7 by Wednesday, so on and so forth, however they might choose to. Now, since I've talked about Art Quests, I think this is the perfect time for me to show you what Art Quests we have available currently.
Yeah. While Sherry's transitioning back to school pace, just to reiterate, in Art Bookshelf, we're going to have materials for you from the toolkits themselves, which are the lessons designed to help students grow as they learn to read. What she just showed you in terms of Research Quest is to provide lessons for grade level content. So we are supporting you on both ends, both for the lessons that they would have received in classrooms and also the support they would have received at their independent level. We got you covered in both cases.
So taking a look at the slick that's in front of you, these are all of the quests that we have available in the grade levels that they may pertain to.
Sherry, we only see the bookshelf in front of us. If you're showing the slick, you might want to click on Windows and then P on your keyboard, or I'm not sure if you're using the software, the Surface Pro.
I'm gonna try to reshare, see if that helps.
Yeah.
How about now?
There you go.
Okay, awesome. So now you should be looking at all of the quests that we have available. Each of the quests here lists the actual core title that goes along with it. And each of these core titles is now also found in Art Bookshelf where we just left. So if you're struggling and you need some guidance and you need some good stuff to send to your students, this is a great place to go. And it could be found in the Resource Center in School Pace.
Just a shout out to the curriculum team at American Reading. They've been working tirelessly, hours upon hours, because we know we take this very serious, and we know that this transition really should be as seamless as possible. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that you have all of the materials available. And a special shout out to the Spanish curriculum team to make sure that we have cores both available in English and in Spanish. So shout out to the curriculum team. Thank you so much, guys.
Mario, can you talk to us a little bit about what Art Bookshelf would look like for our folks in Texas, because it looks a little bit different what they have access to, right?
Yeah, so specifically in Texas, we know that Texas has a specific set of standards that are different compared to maybe other states that may be using Common Core. So we know that in Texas, our friends in Texas use the TEKS. And so when you look up anything that's curriculum driven, either in School Pace or in Bookshelf that is for Texas, it will represent the TEKS standards and not the Common Core standards. We want to make sure that the materials are aligned to your standards that are state specific. Thank you, Sherry.
Awesome. So the next offering we want to show you is Arc Adventures. So Arc Adventures is kind of like Minecraft, basically. So it's an opportunity for students to come in and explore and learn on their level. This is only available right now for 1G readers. But the joy in that is, even if I'm not a 1G reader, it's awesome practice either way you have it. You can access ARC Adventures through any app store. Like for instance, if you have an iPhone, you can download the app, go into ARC Adventures, and use the same login and password that you use for everything else. It's just that simple. Students can go through Clever, or they can go through ClassLink, or they can go right through the web. It just depends on what preference you have as to how to access things online. So it's just a fun, great way for students to access and play a game and still learn.
That sounds like a lot of fun. I wish I could play ARC Adventures in my downtime, because I know that learning and having fun at the same time really is the goal, specifically when we're making this transition to some of the learning that's happening at home. So thank you, Sherry. This looks really exciting.
Awesome. So our next stop is going to go back to School Pace, and we're going to look at the Curriculum Resource Center. So in the Curriculum Resource Center, you find it in School Pace over to the left-hand side of your screen in the blue lane. You're going to look and you're going to find everything that we offer digitally. Everything that we offer tangibly, we offer it digitally as well. So say for instance, I'm a teacher and I wanted to find the quest for my grade level, right? I'm gonna use this search feature right up top. I just typed in quest and look at all the quests that come up. And to actually show you what this might look like, we're gonna actually use the Spanish version of our jobs and community.
Yeah, so if you click on the third one, there you go. What Sherry is showing us right now is the PDF that is editable, as she mentioned before, for the topic for second and third grade comunidad, profesiones de mi comunidad. And so we know that getting Spanish materials is super important and rare. And so we're really proud of the work that we've done with our curriculum team to be able to provide this to you. So once again, use that search engine on the Curriculum Resource Center to shorten your search and type in the word quest if you are looking for the student pages for grade level instruction. Thank you, Sherry.
Awesome. And don't forget, you can also use these toggle buttons here if you're looking specifically for fourth grade, so on and so forth. It's really simple and user-friendly to use. The next stop that we're going to take is going to be in the ERLA Resource Center. And this might be new news to some folks. Mario is going to take a second to kind of explain this to us. It's what we call our MLL guide. How do you find the MLL guide? You go to the ERLA Resource Center.
Yeah, so right above the Curriculum Resource Center, 2 notches above under Resources on your blue column, as Sherry mentioned, you'll see a button called ERLA Resource Center. We've done a lot of work this year with the teaching and learning team, along with the curriculum team, to be able to provide scaffold to support not just literacy, but language acquisition. And we're really proud of the work that we've been able to engage in to support multilingual learners across the country in our classrooms. So once you click on ERLA Resource Center, you're gonna find the button that says ELL Supports, and you're gonna have a menu of resources that come up. You're gonna scroll down all the way to the last piece on that menu, where it says Guide to ERLA Coaching with Multilingual Learners. So as Sherry pulls that up, we're going to show you a few pages to orient you as far as what the content is. So to kind of put this in perspective, we saw some of the foundational skills toolkit lessons that are available in ARC Bookshelf. So imagine this guide working in tandem with those toolkit lessons. If you have a virtual learning space that's been set up in your district and you are planning for student-facing interaction, for differentiation, coaching, if you will, that students are learning to read in English through the ERLA, you might want to look at the Multilingual Learner Guide in School Pace to be able to navigate high leverage power goals that don't just impact literacy development, but impact language acquisition. So Sherry is going to pull up the feature that shows us how this interacts with other materials you might be familiar with. So some of you might just be using the ERLA. You might be using 100 Book Challenge. You might be using some of the starter kits. You might be using ARC materials to support students as they learn to read in English. You might also have the toolkits. The Multilingual Learner Guide will directly work within that system. You also might be working with our core curriculum, as you see noted up here on the upper right. The Multilingual Learner Guide can help you choose goals for that as well. So we want to make sure that you don't just know where the Curriculum Resource Center is, that you don't just know where the foundational school toolkit lessons are in Bookshelf, but that you know that we have scaffolds and power goals that are high impact for literacy and language. And so how do we organize it? We are going to review some of the different parts of the directory or the chapter, the table of contents, if you will, the chapters. We use the same organizational system that you are already familiar with in the ERLA. It's a color leveling system. And so each of the colors are articulated on the extreme left-hand corner. And through the work that we've done with lots of the literacy and language researchers on our academic advisory board, we have provided high leverage power goals for both sequential bilinguals and simultaneous bilinguals. And so for each of the color levels, we have articulated a handful of power goals that impact both literacy and language. So you see here, read to me all the way through to blue. And Sherry's gonna scroll down to the next set of color levels, 1 red, 2 red, all the way to black and above. So no matter what the level of literacy your language learner is reading at, no matter if the student is a sequential bilingual or a simultaneous bilingual, we have you covered. Thank you, Sherry. So as Sherry is pulling up the next piece, we also want to acknowledge the fact that not everybody has access to computers or to internet service. I know that I have some family members that have to share devices. I also have some family members that lack devices. We want to make sure that you know that American Reading Company is here to cover and support you as well. We have that covered. So we're going to go over another tool that we have available to you, and then we will take some questions. We're super excited to hear from you.
Awesome. So this is kind of my favorite part, guys. This is what we're calling a grab and go. This set of materials is purchased by districts at $35 per student. You will receive 10 books. One of the books would actually be the core title that goes along with the quest. In this particular example, it's Marine Life with the core title of Save the Ocean. You'd get a reading log, a ton of skills cards, and you would also be able to access additional books to go along with that theme through our bookshelf. Additionally, we're offering right now 20 free books on ARC bookshelf. So remember when we started the conversation, we said that we were going to talk about, we had 2 different pockets of people, folks that have school PACE and folks that do not currently have school PACE. So those folks who do not currently have school PACE, this is going to be where you want to be. You're going to want to have access to the 10 books in the quest, in the reading log that goes along with it. In addition to that, we wanted to quickly go over how to access the free books on bookshelf.
Yeah, so what you see in front of you where it says Bridge the Divide, we call those grab and goes. The grab and goes currently are available through your district or school purchase. If you do not have a district or school purchase right now for grab and goes, Sherry is going to take you to a coupon where you can use it at American Reading at Home to be able to get free books to start your library at home.
Yes, so here's the thing. We will send this and put this in the link so that you have the exact directions as to how to create an account for yourself. But just for now, I just want to briefly go over it. You basically putting in an email address, creating a password for yourself, and you get to preview all of the books and select 20 that you feel work for you. In addition to these 20, you also can log in and you can get 6 English and 6 Spanish books. So you get lots of books if you're accessing through our ARC bookshelf, whichever way that you do it. So once you have access to the books, you have access to them however long you want to. You can keep going back in and taking a look at those books. See some questions coming through.
So as we're looking at some of these questions, we definitely want to continue this conversation as the weeks stream along. This is not a one and done. Sherry and I are part of a larger team that you're going to gradually meet through our Facebook channel, where we can continue to have this conversation about how to support literacy at home. So we'll be hearing from a teacher next week that's currently adapting to what we're calling distance learning, because the proof is in the pudding. Everyone seems to be adapting and adjusting to the new normal in many different and productive ways. And so we want to share what some teachers who have been making this transition have been doing in a successful way. We also wanted to highlight the fact that we've grown our membership on our teaching network and parent group over the past few days. We just started our group last week, and we're hitting numbers that we couldn't even expect. So we're super thrilled about everyone who has become a member, and we're looking forward to even more. So thank you. What do we got in terms of questions?
I hadn't seen any yet. Someone said something and said we answered it already. One thing that we didn't mention, you also have access to go to, you can look at other books on free platforms. If you're looking for a book for students that we don't have offered through ARC Press, because ARC Press books are only the books that we have access to publish and give to you for free. The other books, we don't have those authorities to do. So if you're looking for other platforms for books in North Carolina, I know for sure the High Point Public Library has released access to all of their ebooks, as has Greensboro Public Library. Another great place to go would be Epic for Kids. On Epic for Kids, they allow you to listen to audiobooks as well as download and read. So there's multiple platforms that you can use. You can go back through School Pace, go to Bookshelf and level those books, and potentially send your students a list of books that they could read in a different way.
Yeah, one of my favorite sites for free online books is a site called uniteforliteracy.com. That's UNITEFOR LITERACY, uniteforliteracy.com. And what you'll see there are a number of digital books across an array of different topics. And the really cool thing about Unite for Literacy is that it has a read aloud function in multiple languages. So again, bringing back the fact that we have multilingual learners in our classrooms who are now learning from home, we know that access to books in different languages and the ability to hear those languages read aloud from books is super important. So if you're looking for another source for online free books, uniteforliteracy.com is definitely a place to go.
So there's a question here about ARC Bookshelf and the two different pockets of people that I was talking about. So the folks that have School Pace, you would have access to our full ARC Press library. For those that do not, you would use the coupon that's up on the screen now to access ARC Bookshelf and gain access for 20 free books, and then go back in and access for 6 English books and 6 Spanish books as well. So you still have the opportunity to access new books for your students both ways. It's just that when you're in School Pace, you have access to the full library.
That was a great question. It says here, Quest text being above independent level. Yes. So I'm sorry, Sherry, were you going to say something?
No, go ahead. I wasn't sure where we needed to go with the question.
Yeah, so I'm assuming this question is about the research quest and the text that's aligned to the lessons that are in the PDF that we showed you, where it says research quest. I think the example was Profesiones en mi comunidad for 2nd and 3rd grade in Spanish. So yes, the texts for the research quest are above independent reading levels, depending on the level of the student. They are supposed to be on or above grade level text. So if I am a 3rd grade student and I am working on my research quest lesson, the book that is aligned should be on or above grade level.
Thanks, Mario.
That's a good question, yeah.
And just for future reference, now that we have this group here on Facebook, please send all questions there, because most teachers could probably benefit from your question and the answer that is provided. So don't be afraid to send messages there. You can reach out to either Mario or myself or your account manager to answer questions. I can be found on Twitter. I'm at Sherry Arc on Twitter, and Mario is Mario Palma, P-A-L-M-A, and the number 4 on Twitter as well. We're very active on both of those platforms.
We have another question, Sherry.
Okay.
So we also know that just giving you materials isn't enough. We also want to be able to support you on how to use them. So one idea that we've been working with teachers on is when a student is accessing the Research Quest lessons, that they do that after having read through the core text, maybe with a parent, maybe with an older brother or sister or a sibling, so that they're familiar with the content of the book that aligns to some of the questions and activities in the Research Quest. And we also know that we're transitioning away from a 6-hour learning day in school to this new space, this home learning that's occurring. And so we want to make sure that we understand how to parse out the work from the research quest. So our recommendation is that parents, when working with their children, or guardians working with their children, that they read through the quest with their child as well, and negotiate with your child. What do you think is a reasonable amount of work that we can accomplish on a daily basis? We know that routines and schedules are our best friend. And so maybe selecting a time of the day where you're going to read together through the core text, and maybe chunking the text just like you would chunking the activities in the research quest. So those are just some suggestions. We're not here just today. We're going to do this every single Wednesday with all kinds of amazing topics to support our communities as they transition to home learning. And we look forward to your participation. So if there are any additional questions that come up regarding the use of SchoolPace, the Curriculum Resource Center, how to set up ARC Bookshelf, your student-facing account for digital books, the Multilingual Guide for high leverage literacy and language power goals, how to get your free books with the coupon that Sherry showed, or some of the Research Quest materials, or your grab and go, your actual book, your bag of books that districts are providing for students that don't have access to computers or internet services. Any of those topics, we welcome questions in the parent or teacher groups. You can post your questions or comments about how helpful this either was, or questions you may still need some clarification with. And let's continue on this dialogue. Let's create an online community to support each other as we navigate these new waters.
That's right. And definitely come back next week, next Wednesday, same time. I believe the content is going to be on ecosystems. So some of you may be working through that right now. You might get out of that some great ideas on how to engage your students virtually.
Yeah.
Question came in, ideas for kindergarten and first grade since there are no research quests.
Yeah, so I know one of the things that I see a lot of parents doing, and I'm a co-parent. I co-parent my nephew, Johnny, with my sister, and he's in kindergarten, transitioning to first grade next year. And so we wouldn't have a research quest for him, right? So, but it doesn't mean that literacy interactions do not occur. So what we've been doing with Johnny is having read aloud time as part of our schedule every single day, 15 to 20 minutes of one-on-one read aloud time. And then we have multiple adults in the house who take turns with that. And so we have a schedule for that. We also have time where Johnny is reading to self, right? So a specific time where he's either accessing digital books or actual books from our library. You see some of the books that he chooses right behind me here, and some more that we have in the rest of the house. So read aloud time, right, where he's listening to amazing books being read to him, reading to self time, and then reading to someone. So reading to someone is probably one of his favorite parts of the day because he can read to me. He calls me Tío Mario. He can read to Mommy, or he can read to Super Mario Brothers. So the read to someone time often is the favorite time of the day. So yeah, so even if you don't have a research quest option, I think it's really important that we have some type of schedule or routine where literacy is amplified, right, is supported. And there are different ways to do that. Thank you for that question, whoever that was. Okay, it's 5:29. We had up until 5:30 today. So as Sherry mentioned, this is our first date. This is our first dance, our first shot. And we hope that we were helpful. We hope that this was informative, but we know it's not enough. We're going to continue with this conversation next Wednesday and beyond. We have a bunch of different topics that we're going to present to you. And in between, we can continue to use the post option on our either teacher or parent group on Facebook to continue the conversation. Don't forget us on Twitter, and take care of yourselves.
Take care of yourselves. Also, for me, let us know if there's anything you want to hear more about, and perhaps we can do a session on it.
Sherry, this was super fun. Maybe we can try it again. I know there's a lot of topics, but I can't wait for us to do this again, you and I.
Let's hang out again virtually real soon.
Sounds good. Thank you, Facebook family, ARC family. Take care of yourselves. Be good.
Be well.